Join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much for coming to the meeting. For March 10th, regular meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd also like to have the minutes approved for the prior meeting of February 10th. I have what?
I said he's gonna have to approve it, Jerry, right over here.
That's right. You approve, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes.
I have a motion to approve, do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
We're good. Public comment. Mr. Dyer.
Just a couple things. I'm sure you read in the paper that sales tax is a little slower than last year. It's up a little bit from last month. You know, every place you go, things are slower. We're still optimistic. You know, as we get further into it, we'll have a better handle on it. But one thing, I don't know if you've noticed, the governor's been all over the TV with this property tax relief. I don't know how well you've been following it. We're going to pass a resolution Wednesday night. It's got its pros, but I think it's a lot of smoke and mirrors right now. I think he's trying to pass the buck. We all know where our property taxes go. They come here, they go to the county, and they go to the schools. The state receives none of that property tax. We feel that there could be more property tax relief if he would take his $1 billion in Medicaid spending and send that throughout the state, and we would see about a 27% decrease in our property taxes in Clinton County. So that's the resolution we're going to pass, and if anybody wants that or wants to step on board, we're more than welcome to accept that. So, any questions?
Not yet, but I've been following it, and you're exactly right.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to the local levels.
Well, we spoke last month about consolidation of services, and Clinton County and the Chazy and Beatontown, all through Clinton County, we've been doing this stuff for 25 years. This isn't rocket science. But we've also held our property tax, our rate was exactly the same as last year, and if this goes into effect, we're basically going to be penalized for doing a good job, and that's not the way things should be done. You know, I'm sure we can do some things, but there's no way we can consolidate enough services to make these cuts. We're talking a 3% budget cut over the next 4 years. And that just can't happen that quick, and there's only so many things you can consolidate here. But you know, it's something that's ongoing and open, and I'm sure you're going to see it heat up quicker as the budget gets closer. But NISAC, the Association of Counties, that's the resolution that we've been working on, and that's what we are going to send forward to Albany. So we may not be popular when it gets there, but you know, sometimes you got to make a stand and see what happens. So, but we're trying.
How are things at the airport progressing? Or?
Yeah. You know, I'm sure you've heard about Allegiant, but you know, there's going to be bumps along the way, and I'm sure you read about the hotel. But you know, we only heard of one. We only heard of one hotel. We didn't hear of two, did we, Bill? So, but there's going to be peaks and valleys, and I think, you know, with the expansion that's coming on, you're going to see some good things. There's other carriers that are involved, but one thing I've learned is you know, when those things come, we will tell you. But sometimes people speak too soon, and things are happening, but there's good things going on, and I think it's very, very good for Clinton County. I don't know if I answered your question or not,
But just how much is this Allegiant going to affect the overall operation?
it's basically.
Are they done yet, or very soon?
I think it's this week. They're done with that flight. They're still continuing the Florida flight, and you know, it's we're working with the low ball numbers, and we're trying to take care of everything with the parking charges and the passenger surcharges. So you know, either way, if using the low numbers that we've used all the way through, we're still going to be okay. So, anything else, or?
I'm good. Anyone else have anything? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming again. Mr. Favreau.
Last time we talked about a proposed local law authorizing the award of contracts on the basis of best value versus just the lowest bid. So you have a draft of that local law in front of you. The next step is, if you're interested in adopting it, would be to, or moving forward with it, not necessarily in adopting it, but would be to set a public hearing, given a draft resolution of that. Then anytime after the public hearing, if you have that and you're inclined to adopt it, you could adopt the local law.
No, we could, excuse me, we could pass a resolution tonight stating that. We have a resolution.
We have a resolution just proposing setting a public hearing.
Yes.
And again, setting a public hearing doesn't obligate you to then adopt the local law, but it sets in motion the step that's necessary to then be in a position to adopt it if you want.
Now, if we pass the resolution tonight, say we were going to have a public hearing in 30 days, I'm not sure of this, but you can't, there's a time frame. Is it, the maximum was 20 days before?
When, as far as
Publication,
publication.
for publication in the papers, 20 days before. So you can't do it at 22 days before or now.
Correct, I think it's 10 versus 10.
10, yeah, maximum's
window.
20, minimum's 10.
Sue would be the one that knows that the most, I think, probably in publication.
10 and
but
20.
still, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we may move forward on the best value.
We talked about it last meeting. Maybe for the benefit of Dan, should we kind of review what that's all
Yes,
about?
Sure.
I forgot Dan wasn't here. Go ahead.
And Jerry either. It's
Well, I
just,
think we had discussed it.
yeah, you had in the past.
Yeah.
The idea of, under general municipal law, section 103, you go out to bid on a contract, you have to, as a municipality, take the lowest responsible bid that comes in that complies or meets the bid specifications. They modified the law 2 years ago now, section 103, allows municipalities to adopt this alternative method of awarding a contract based on best value. And what it does is, if you have two competing bids come in that are very, very close, but for reasons that this board would need to examine and put in its resolution why we're adopting one that's a little bit higher or a little bit different, you can award that contract not to the absolute lowest monetary bidder, but maybe to the next bidder based on some analysis of best value. And what that could be is, it's a closer dealer of this particular product, and it would be better for service and maintenance and that kind of thing. That's one example, but it can be other things like that. It's an analysis that the town board feels would be based on whatever factors you're looking at. You have to take it bid by bid, but that we don't want to take the absolute lowest monetary bid. If you have the local law in effect on your books, it gives you the option of doing that. If you don't have it on your books, you have to go with the lowest bid, or reject all the bids and start over.
So if contractor A was low, but contractor B had 3 or 4 more options and was slightly higher, under this law, we could say this is a better value for the price he gave, even though it wasn't low. Okay.
Yeah, you have to be careful if it's public works contracts, those don't apply to it. This is really for more goods and other services than public works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bill?
I don't know if you want to discuss too, your proceeding with that master plan or not. Just to mention to Dan and Jerry, last time.
Go ahead, yes.
Well, you have that proposed master plan that's been out there and reviewed and reanalyzed, reproposed, and redrawn, I guess, for 4 or 5 years. It was presented to the supervisor shortly after he was sworn in, I think, that, let's move this forward or whatnot. But it's up to this board now. The master plan that's been drafted would require setting a public hearing if the board was interested in moving forward with it in its current form. And again, you'd have to have the public hearing before adopting it. What we did do at the last meeting, just so you're in a position to go forward with a public hearing and do what you might with the master plan, is you adopted a resolution under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. You adopted a resolution to be lead agency for purposes of considering the environmental impacts of adopting that master plan. So that was adopted, that's all it was. It then gives the supervisor the authority to go out and notify the other involved agencies, which is basically adjoining towns in the county, that the town has decided, it's got this master plan proposal, and in order to conduct or consider the environmental impacts of adopting it, they've declared themselves to be lead agency. That's it. So that's been done, and that's the only place it's at. I mean, at some point, the board should decide whether they want to send it back to the drawing board, or move forward with it in its current form.
I just have to make a couple of changes on the date because you have to wait 30 days, so every day you got to redraft it, so I waited for this meeting. We have the letters ready to go out to the adjoining towns. All we have to do is change the date on it to reflect, to give them 30 days. We will make copies of the application, the seeker, the evaluation forms. We'll make copies of those, attach them to the letters saying we want to be the lead agency for this, send them out to the adjoining towns, and then wait 30 days for a response.
Yeah, the 30 days is not so, the only response they need to make, or it's an opportunity for them to object to you being lead agency for conducting an environmental impact review of your own
So if we don't hear anything,
master
that's
plan. That's right, you just go on and complete the secret process at some point.
So, I intend this week, unless you tell me differently, I intend this week to send those letters out, giving the adjoining towns the 30 days to do that, attaching the environmental forms with it, so they have those to read, and then the clock will start ticking. At that time, we can decide how you want to move forward on public hearing. Okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Anything else, Bill?
No,
Mr. Loniker, sir?
Well, same as every year, waiting for spring to come.
Is it longer this year, or is it just me?
It's been a very long
Yeah,
winter.
you're a professional at this, I don't know.
We've been through 460 loads of sand so far this year, which is real high. Boys are busy getting everything ready for spring. Some of the guys see you already seen it, but Jerry has it. That's our-
Oh, yeah.
one of our winter projects we did. Boys been
See the
busy.
color? Bill likes trucks. Show me color. Here, this just back in, we'll give you an idea of what color it is. Yeah.
It's a truck we redid this winter for the highway department to reuse.
County doesn't have anything like this.
Safety wise, they're gonna see it.
You see it for 100 miles.
You know?
Is that safety lime green or yellow or whatever it is?
So we got two vehicles that we're gonna get rid of this spring because they're just getting rough. Gonna put them out to bids and get rid of them, so that's gonna replace two of them. Got the ambulances starting to get rough and the Chevy pickup Dave's using right now,
Right.
that's gonna be gone and that's gonna replace the two of them. So the ambulance all set up as a work vehicle, that's got the work box on it, so we got all our compartments.
This is the truck that we had, or?
No, it's one I purchased.
Okay.
We got $5,000 in it when we were done. Diesel and everything, nice truck. And, other than that, like I say, just getting everything ready for springtime, waiting to do sidewalks and front goodies and sweeping, but
How many loads of sand do you typically do?
the last 2 years been crazy. On a regular year, we go through about 300 at max.
And you were 460 or 406?
460 this year. We're over 600 last year. It's been really crazy. But everybody wants roads better and better every year, so if we go better and better, it's more exciting. You know, it's change the times, it is. All right, that's about all I got.
Okay. I don't know if I want to do this now or wait. Our assessor, Pat Ayers, is in line for some continuing education credits that she has to take to hold on to her position. The course is in, is it Cernak? No.
That is some very book.
Okay. And it is free. So there's no cost to the course except for Pat to go up there for
Mass.
3 days, I think, yeah.
Mass.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
She needs to do this to maintain her assessor status, and it is continuing education. So we're going to have a resolution come up for the board to authorize that. I recommend that we do it. She needs it. There's really no cost to us except the mileage. And that's pretty much it on that. Mr. Dino, do you have anything?
Just a couple of questions. You had talked about the sewer plant. Are you gonna go over
Yes,
that? Okay.
I am.
All right. And Sue, how's it going with the paperwork and doing the audit and everything? Is it,
Oh, that's being.
you're putting the
filed.
bills in,
Yep,
you're doing
Yep,
all that,
we're-
everything is going all right with that?
and
or
we're,
Overwhelming, or
well,
is it getting easier, or?
well, it's getting easier, yes, because I've never done it that way before, so it
Mhm.
was a new experience for me as well as for Phil.
Right,
You know, so we're just kind of restructuring it and figuring out
Mhm.
what needs to be done, and, you know, it's getting there, it's just, you know, next one would be a little bit easier, and how it goes, it's a learning
Right.
curve.
okay,
But, yeah,
all right.
it's good.
And Phil, how did tax season
Busy,
go for you?
really busy. During
Everything.
January was overwhelming, really February was busy, but it's such a great program, the
Mhm.
ITAX program through Bass, it really is. We've collected, I paid the town supervisor off during January, which was kind of early, and I've already sent over, I think, 350, almost 400,000 to the county treasurer. So I think we've done exceptionally well, and with, knock on wood, I haven't had one check come back to me as
Wow.
overdraft, and that's amazing.
Rather than pay me off, Phil,
Yeah,
I
I
think
know.
you meant that you remitted to the town.
Yeah,
tax.
that's what I
Thanks, Mark, for clarifying.
Our fair share of the tax. Thank you.
So it went well, Pat was your assistant during that?
Pardon me?
Pat was your assistant?
She
Or
didn't
deputy,
work
did
too
she?
much on it because it was so crazy. I mean, it was just very hard, but I do want to get Pat, now that things have slowed down,
Uh-huh.
in the next week or two, I'm gonna start getting Pat into the basic day-to-day things.
Right.
You know, it's not good for just one person to
So
know
did
any
you do
job.
most of it on your own?
My wife helped me,
Uh-huh.
so there was, I worked New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, every weekend, every night, all through January and the first few days of February. But it was good, I mean, it was overwhelming, but
Mhm.
next year will be easier.
Right,
But it was okay.
okay. Well, that's good, thank you. Thank you, both of you. And I think the only other thing, Mark, that I kind of forgot about, so for the meeting, you had asked me about someone to replace Phil on that zoning, or was it the assessment?
Bar.
Oh, yes,
Board of Assessment Review.
that's right.
Did you ever find anybody?
I
or-
kind of did, but I don't want to put the name out right now
Okay,
because I
all
haven't
right.
spoken to him.
I completely.
I do have
Okay,
a
good.
person.
Okay. Then we'll talk about
And I'm
that.
gonna- Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I haven't even talked to him yet. so.
Okay,
I have a name, I should say.
all right, that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Drew?
I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Vesco?
I see last month when I was absent, you kindly took care of, and not putting me in charge of the website.
I did.
Thank you.
I knew if you were here, you'd want, Willie fought hard for it. I said, no, Dan's gonna get it.
That's great. I don't have any hands-on how to create one. I have a lot of ideas what we can do, so what we'll need to do is possibly find somebody that can go along with me, and we can kind of pencil it all out and see where we're at with it, and then find somebody to actually put it together.
Right. Well, I think that's what we're looking for. We've got to improve the website and the Facebook page as well, however that's set up, and our access to it, so we can make it look better to start with, have it easier to interact, and be able to post things on it in a more timely manner, so we can get information right out, like meetings, minutes, boil water orders, all kinds of different things we can get out there. So if you can, as you say, just supervise it, get something together, bring it to the board, we'll all take a look at it, and we'll see what we can do.
Because I've been going through different sites, towns and everything, seeing what they have, and there's some really good ideas out there
Okay.
that we can incorporate and have, make it as simple as possible, a few tabs at the top, where people can go, how to tap, how do I take care of my water bill, how do I find out about the highway department, how do I, and have those frequently asked questions in there with phone numbers, and I think people would, appreciate that.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Okay, well, thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, good. It'll take a while, but we'll get to it. Anyone else before I start? Okay. Who was not here? Dan and I think Jerry was here when we talked about the pickup. Were you here for the pickup truck last month?
No.
Okay. Just to bring everybody up to speed, we had put out to bid for a pickup truck for the water and sewer department. The bids came in, and for reasons as we explained last meeting, that we didn't feel it was the best interest of the town at that time to accept those bids, so we rejected all bids. And now I'm coming back to you to see how you would like to proceed. Either do you want to go back out to bid, as we did before, or do you want to go to the state contract and buy off the state contract? So basically, we have two choices, well, three, really, if you don't want to do anything. That's an option, I suppose. The other two options are bid or the state contract. And tonight, I'm going to present a resolution to you in a little bit that's going to transfer funds from the general building capital reserve fund to the general equipment capital reserve fund to cover the cost of this vehicle. Now, the history of it is, and if I don't get it right, let me know. The history of it is that we received $16,000 from the insurance company, so we have that $16,000. The vehicle is going to cost, the truck, the pickup truck, 3/4 ton pickup truck, is going to cost somewhere around, I don't know, $30,000, $25,000 right in there. We'll wait till the bids come back. So we'll take, say, another $16,000 to transfer from one fund to the other fund. And we'll talk about that when the resolution comes up. That's just moving money so that we would be in a position to buy the truck if you decided to do so. Once we get the truck, then we need a plow to hook on that truck. The truck that the insurance company is covering for had a plow on it, but the plow was not in very good shape, and it was 10 years old, and that plow won't fit on the new truck. We get a 2015 truck, this plow is not going to go on there, but even if we could figure out some way to put it on there, the plow is not in good shape to do it. So Tim has taken it, and I think you've welded it, and is going to use that plow down at the highway department and other places just to plow up the parking lot and do that, but it won't be effective for Dave Luke's use at water and sewer. So what we're looking at is a plan to move the money from one fund to the other. We have a resolution for that. Then what I need your advice, your direction on is, do you want to go out to bids as we did before and rejected them for the pickup truck? Or do you wish me to buy it off the state contract? Now, just to ensure that there were still vehicles available on this state contract, we checked, so there is a vehicle there, because we were concerned that if you decided that we would go off the state contract, then we would go and ask for a vehicle, and then there wouldn't be one. But there is one if that's the direction you decide to go. So, how would you like to proceed on this truck? Do you want to go out to bid, send it out to all the different dealers and have them bid on this, or would you want to go state contract?
And I guess for Jerry and Dan, the reason that the decision was made to reject, there was some confusion between the dealerships that bid on it last time on the description.
Mhm.
So we had people confusing the cab style, so it just, things were out of whack. And by looking at the numbers, it was very clear that everybody wasn't on the same page.
Exactly.
So
have been in a position to get a pickup truck that didn't fit what we needed. The specs were not what we needed to do the job. So what we want to do, we have rejected the bids, so we are gonna take the new specs and put them out if you want to on the bid or go state contract.
What's the benefit, saying going to, putting out the bid as opposed to going to the state?
Well, the state contract, we know the truck is there. It's easier in the sense that it basically just takes a phone call. You call up and say, I want this truck that fits our needs, and they send it to you.
Okay.
For the bid, we take the specs, we'll send them out, we'll advertise and send them out to whoever wants to bid on it. We wait 30 days for the answer to come back.
No, I think it can be as quick as 5 after you.
Oh, they can?
publish.
Okay. Well, there's a period of time you wait, the bids come in. Generally, Phil and I will open them up in some kind of public hearing, and we'll open the bids. We'll see which bid is the lowest that fits, make sure they have the specs that we require. And then we go back to that dealer and tell them, we'll take that truck, and then as soon as they can get it to us, they deliver it to us. So one is, you send the information out to the dealers, they do the forms, they send them back to us, we wait an appropriate amount of time, then we open the bids and see who's the lowest. The other is a phone call and sign your name on the bottom of the check.
Is typically one cheaper than the other process?
I don't think that's fair to say. I mean, I don't think you know until the bids come in.
Okay.
We just have to wait. To be honest with you, I don't have a history or an experience to say that, well, historically the bids are cheaper, or historically the state contract's cheaper. I don't have an answer for you there. But I think the only way to tell is put it up to bid and say, or go state contract. We know what the price is there.
So putting out the bid basically would keep monies local as far as giving the local people a chance to participate.
Well, it gives them a chance to participate, but we still have the best interests of the taxpayer, so whatever it is. But you're right, it does give local dealers, but anywhere, not just local, anywhere, a chance to bid.
Is there a hybrid where we can do both?
I'd say no, but I would defer to
Under
Bill.
state contract, you mean by, I don't know what you're
If
asking.
we
Well-
have the bids, if we have the state number, I mean, do we?
Yeah, you can't-
do we
you'd have to
pick
reject-
whatever we want?
You can reject all the bids and still buy on a state contract if the bids come in and they're too high. If, however, you went out to bid and one of those bid, one or more, is lower than the state contract, you then have to take the lower bid. You can't reject the bids and go with state contract.
That's what we were looking for anyways.
Exactly. But you could reject the bids at the end of this process and turn around. And as far as a hybrid, you could buy the truck, say you went out to bid and bought the truck, and then I suppose if the state contract has the type of plow you want, and wanted to just not go out to bid for that part of it. When you go out to bid, you could bid this as alternatives. Alternative A being just the truck, and alternative B, the plow and the truck. I don't know if that's the way you've set it up or thought about it, but you could do that. And then if you felt that the price of the truck came in cheap enough, you wanted to give it to, a local dealer or something, you could do that. So do 3 alternatives, just the truck, just the plow, or
So
just
basically,
come on.
base bid, bid item A additional, and then have a total price at the bottom, and we can accept anything we want.
Yeah, and then you could do what, I don't know if that's what you're suggesting, but then you could turn around and say, okay, we're gonna get the truck from state contract, but we're gonna get the plow and get it assembled or whatever,
Would you, what I was thinking of is getting the truck, one way, either through the bids or through the state contract to get the truck. The plow, I believe, is under the price to have to go out to bid, no? You'd have to get 3 quotes, but you
It
would.
probably is, you wouldn't have to go through the same bid process, but it might be interesting if you're going out to bid, because you wouldn't have to accept it with the plow. You might decide to say, I don't know, some of these dealers may sell you a package that's cheaper, all installed and ready to go.
Sure. Now, the state truck, we pick off a list of exactly the one that we want.
Yes, we call up and say, this is what we want, if they have it, then it's whatever the price is. And you say, okay, fine. I mean, I would come back to you. You know, I'm not just gonna say fine, but I'd come back and say, hey, the state contractor is what it is.
The same with the lowest bid, when those bids are open, it's still, they're presented to the town board then has to decide what to do with them. Either take the lowest bid or reject it.
Jerry, what do you think?
I think we should go out to bid and at least give the locals a chance.
Right.
And if they don't come in, then
Go to state.
go to the state, you know,
So that's really the best of all worlds.
yeah. That's my opinion. And I like the idea of pricing it out separately.
Right. And I don't want to speak for Kathy, but she was here last time and
Mhm.
she felt that way as well. She
Yeah.
wanted me to make sure that.
Right. Right.
Bid?
Mhm.
You're saying bid? Yeah, it is. Now, if we do go with that, maybe we'll go with that idea Bill had on the truck and the plow optional?
You would probably want to check on the plow, because everything we found out so far through Dave Loop, our maintenance man, is that because they're 2015 trucks,
Oh, the
there
plows.
aren't any specs for the plows yet.
Right, right.
2015 trucks.
That's what you're going out to bid on.
So we might not, we might have to wait until the plow manufacturers catch up with the 2015s.
I bet they have that figured out.
They may, yeah, I'm saying. Okay, but in any event, it's a bid.
Now, what size truck are you?
A
Is it?
3/4 ton super, no, cab, what's a cab and a half?
Extended
cab.
Extended cab, thank you. 3/4 ton extended cab,
Short box,
That's for some confusion.
with a short box.
in a short box.
Nobody could read Ford's description.
Extended cab. Okay. I think that's
Just
it.
regular gas, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's not diesel, is that what you're hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think I have your direction on how you want to move on there.
If you are gonna incorporate the plow into it, you're gonna do a straight plow, a V plow, stainless plow, you get into all that
We'll talk with Dave.
conversation.
Yeah, we'll talk with Dave. And he has an idea of the type of plow that he wants. So, yes, that will be done.
Yeah, because there's a huge
Yeah.
difference in price.
Yeah, but it may be, if they catch up, it may be a two-step process in that we get the truck and then we'll go after the plow.
As long as you're gonna be talking to Dave too, because when Willie raises that point, the extended cab alone, I mean, I looked at pickup trucks and they've got so many, but I mean, they've got 4 doors.
Right.
And they've got different
Yep.
ways of doing the doors.
Yep.
Extended cab doesn't really just cover maybe what he
Okay.
wants.
Right, we've got the, so we sat down with Dave, and
Okay.
we've got a list of specs as to how we want this, how he would prefer this to be laid out. So we will go over that
Yeah.
and ensure we've got it the way he wants. But you're right,
Yeah, I know.
you're right. The garage door. The building out back, was that the old town garage, before you moved over there? What was that over
It was
there?
a fire station.
Fire station.
Oh, that was fire, okay.
downtown, right?
The building out back that you put the roof on last year. Over time, because that needed a new roof, of course, the water leaked down inside. Well, the door was generally up, the garage door was generally up, so that water over the years has come down and rotted out the frame, rotted out the panels. So I'm afraid that when you pick that door up one of these days, the whole thing's just gonna disintegrate. It's a hazard, it's rotted, the frame's rotted. So as, I don't wanna say a continuation of the project, of the roof project, but because the roof leaked and they replaced the roof, which was a good thing, we do have the garage door is severely damaged and needs to be replaced. So without committing anything, we went out and got several quotes for a new garage door and an opener for that building out back. And it comes to about $2,500 installed for that garage door and opener. It's an aluminum door, I think it's got like foam insulation on the inside, and an opener to go with it. As part of the money that we're moving over for the pickup truck, and we have a resolution for this as well, if you want to act on it when we get around to it, but I want to give you time to think about it. We'd like to move about $2,500 over for that new garage door, which really needs to be done. It really needs to be done. And the quote we got, as I said, was $2,500, and it was almost $1,000 cheaper than the nearest quote to it. So I think it's a good quote. I think it's something that needs to be done, and I would like you to consider when we get the resolution to do that.
What kind of door is it?
The name of it, you mean like, it's an aluminum,
Who's the lowest bid?
20,
Who was
Out
it?
of Vermont.
$2,500 out of Vermont, yeah.
What size door was it?
Don't know, big one. I don't know what the dimensions are. There's little doors and then there's big doors. It's a big door.
They call it a big door.
Yeah,
Big door.
Wow.
I don't know. I'd have to ask David.
Size
Montana.
18 by,
Yeah,
18
it's
by 14, something like that, 9 wide, 14 tall.
14 feet tall? Yeah.
Little door. For a big door
And
like
it's
that,
wood.
that's not a bad price.
So, yeah, it's not like my garage door, it's like,
Do we need a door that big?
Bring
Well,
Yeah,
the trucks
we've
and
got to get
equipment.
in and out, to put stuff in that, the way the place is all chopped up now.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
I would recommend that we do it. I mean, we can go back and take a look. If you want to, later. I mean, we don't have to right
You
now. You want to take a look at it? It's right out there. So garage door, and that'll be coming up. I just want to give you a heads up on it for the resolution. The wastewater plant the other day, we had a small emergency down there, nothing earth-shattering, but Dave Loop had to go down to the wastewater plant because we had some electrical issues down there. So he went down, had to get an electrician up there, and we discovered that there were some breakers, 4 main breakers at the wastewater plant that had corroded. And in order for the plant to continue, we have to replace those 4 main breakers. We got a quote of $1,900 on the breakers. I told them to go ahead and replace those breakers, so they're getting them. They've got the plant going, it's working fine, there's no issues there, but those breakers need to be replaced. They needed to be ordered right away, so we did. The price came back at $1,700 for those breakers. It was an emergency repair at the time. I contacted the deputy supervisor at the time, Jerry, and told him what was going on. So there will be a resolution coming up asking you to authorize the expense of the $1,700 for the breakers for the wastewater plant that we got down there. So that issue's coming up. As I say, it was an issue that came up in the morning. We had no power down there. They had to do something, so we did.
Now, the corrosion part of it, was it just humidity in the building that caused it, or?
Well, there was breakers, as I understand it, are, I think they're original. I think they've been there since they built the
Yeah.
place.
probably.
And it looks like it's humidity and just exposure over time that corroded those breakers.
Were they in the building, or?
They're
They're
outside,
outside?
Yeah, they're
boxes,
exposed.
Okay, all right.
and we're going to talk about that pole barn. That's another thing that I'm gonna bring up here in just a little bit, that would cover that. I think it would cover that whole area and may help eliminate something like that. So there'll be a resolution coming up for the $1,700 for those breakers. I'd like to give you an overview of some of the projects that we may discuss over time. It's nothing we're going to do tonight, but I'd like you to know some of the projects that were out there that we might be talking about here in a little while. Sue and I had an opportunity, we were talking about the pole barn down at, this is an older project, this has been around for a while. At the wastewater plant, there are several lagoons, basins, are just open. And a few years ago, the board thought that it would be a good idea to put a pole barn over that area to cover it. The reason being to protect like these breakers, but more importantly, the lagoons freeze where the influent comes in. They freeze, especially this winter. When that happens, you can have an overflow, or the maintenance workers have to go down and chip out the ice so that the influent can come in and go through the plant and do what it's supposed to do and not have an overflow. The pole barn, as it was conceived, would be obviously the roof and the pole barn, but it would have the sides that would go up and down. So in the summertime, they could be up, and in the wintertime, the sides would come down, and then it would heat itself from the reaction. And that would stop that from freezing, so you wouldn't have to go down, you wouldn't have the danger of the overflow. It wouldn't freeze, it could go through and do the power. Some of the stuff has to be treated twice because it goes over into another section. When it's frozen, it has to be treated twice. So it's costing us a little bit of money to treat it. These pumps have to run harder. So they felt at the time, a few years ago, that the pole barn, with the sides that go up and down, would eliminate this freezing and a lot of the problems that they have down there. Sue and I went and talked to Liz Tedford, who is a consultant that can help you with grants, to perhaps find a grant to do projects like this. So we just talked to Liz to get an overview of what she thought. We explained our problem to her. She thought that maybe there might be a grant out there. She thought there was one. Now, of course, they're competitive, so whether we got it or not would be something else again. So we're working. We got some initial information from Liz. We're not working whether we're not doing anything right now. We just got some initial information as to what her professional opinion would be on something like this. So maybe we would want to pursue a grant for this pole barn. Now, it gets a little complicated in the sense that Liz's time's not free. She charges for her time to fill out the grant. Once the grant is submitted, then we may or may not get it. The grant we would be looking at is, I think it's up to $30,000 for an engineering firm to come in, look at the pole barn, of course, but then they would look at your entire system as well. So you would get an overview of the whole wastewater system. The advantage of that might be that you could have them come in and just look at the pole barn, and they could do that for, I don't know, $3,000. But with the grant, it's up to $30,000. You could have the same engineering come in, do your pole barn, get an overview of the whole thing. That wouldn't cost you any money at all. That's all done by grant. So you would have an overview of the entire system when they were here. That may be more than you would want to do, that we would want to do. So you might want to consider, do we just want to do the pole barn, or do we just want to have, or do we want to have somebody come in here and look at this entire system?
Now, does the grant just cover engineering or?
Yes.
Okay, so
It doesn't, it's not
once
construction.
that's done, then there's an additional
Right,
cost.
so you would get an engineering company, they would come in, they'd look at the pole barn, they'd look at the whole system, they'd draw up plans, and here it all is. Or you could just say, hey, just look at the pole barn, that's all we care about. So they would do that, but why not have a look at the whole thing if they're coming here, except it might be time, it might be those other issues. But that just gets you plans and drawings and those kind of things. Then you'd have to proceed as to perhaps another grant, if one's out there, for construction of this building. And normally, the way these grants work, as I understand it, it could be like an 80-20 deal. I mean, let's say the pole barn costs $100,000, I don't believe it would, but you could get a grant of $80,000, but we would still have to pony up 20. I think that, and Jerry would know more about this, I believe, I think they looked at just doing the pole barn, just like doing it in-house, getting the pole barn up, doing the sides, doing that kind of thing. I think that at the time, it was decided that was too big a project for us to do manpower-wise on our own, just for us to get on and do it, put it up, do those kind of things. I don't think that's a practical way to go. I believe that was the board's decision before. So, I'm just putting this out tonight to let you know it's out there so you can think about it. We'll talk about this more and see where you want to go. There's no decisions to be made tonight, but I think we need to look, resurrect this project of the pole barn down there and find out the best way to go.
How big is this area that we're looking to cover? Roughly guessing.
I don't know. I
You have
don't
an
know.
idea?
I would think
Yeah,
it's
that'd be really-
probably
probably
30 or 40,
40, maybe 40 wide
Right.
and
50,
Maybe-
probably longer.
50, 60.
Yeah,
yeah.
Why did it die last time, Jerry?
we were trying to do it in-house and there's really no money in the sewer budget. I mean, we run that extremely lean to try to keep the rates down. And it has to come from within the sewer budget. We can't take money from someplace else
That's good.
to do a project there. Because those have to be self-sufficient, their districts. So the highway department was gonna try to help us, but, you know, it's gonna take, you know, they're gonna have to set telephone poles and, you know, have trusses and, at one point, I think years ago, they used to pull a tarp over it,
We had like
on a roller.
a frame, you know, one of those
Yeah.
pipe frames, and we had a tarp over it. We did that for a couple of years, maybe 3, but I'm thinking it's only 2, Lily,
Right.
and the wind would just rip it apart.
Because there's actually one area down there where they keep a light bulb on, I think, to keep it thawed, isn't there? To keep some of the
I
pipes
haven't-
thawed. I believe
would
they
remember,
used to.
I can't
I-
remember.
Must have been a big one this year.
That's probably why they were down there chipping. But I think it's from where, have you been down there? I mean, it's like concrete lagoons is a good way to put it.
Right.
It's-
Yeah.
There's probably 3 or 4 different basins and one dumps
Yeah,
into the
there's-
other and,
No, I
One-
haven't, but I'll.
and then it goes into the
I'll take a
reed
look at
bed
it.
from there, but,
There's 4 separate
Yeah.
tanks, yeah.
Now, there's vegetation in lagoons, right?
not in those,
Not what
over
we're talking
to
about.
the
Oh, okay.
side.
After that, then it goes
They
into the
go
reed
into
beds.
the reed,
Okay.
there's 2 reed beds after that where they go into, but.
So that's something we'll talk, we go down and look at it, we'll talk about it, it's not gonna happen overnight, but I think it's something we need to talk about. Some of the other projects, smaller ones, we're going to paint the West Chazy Town Hall, that roof up there needs some aluminum paint on it, so we'll do that, it's just some paint. I'll let you know what the cost of that's going to be. The garage out back again, that needs to be painted, again, that's just paint around that garage, so that will be a fairly small project. That's the same one I'm talking about that we'll put the new door on, if you agree to do that. We had the boiler here at the town hall, we had that inspected, and we needed to get some parts for that. And it looked like it was going to be a fairly expensive project, but we went out and we purchased the parts. And John Polachek, who comes in and services our boiler, put those parts on for us for free. So that didn't cost us any labor to put the parts on. So the boiler has been brought up to speed, all we brought was the parts, and John did that. And as an aside, we'll have a resolution tonight for the service contract for the boiler. John's been doing that for years. And now the service contract's up. So he did that as part of that. A little bit bigger project, I think we can look at that maybe this summer. The town hall parking lot out here is starting to deteriorate pretty badly in some spots. So maybe that's something that we can work with Tim. I don't know if he has the manpower. I haven't even talked to Tim about it yet, so I don't know. But we can look at that and see if that's something we want to do. over time. It's nothing that needs to be done right away, but it may be a project that you'd like to look at, and we can talk to Tim, see where we can go. And lastly, for projects, the two doors. I would like to change the locks on these two doors and make them just one key. Instead of having a key for that door and a key for that door, I'd like to change those locks, just put one in there where one key would open both. Those locks have been in there for a long time. We've handed keys out over the years, and there's keys out everywhere. And I don't even know, no one seems to know who has them anymore. So what I would like to do is look, and again, I will let you know what the cost is going to be, but it won't be much, is change the two locks on these doors, get the keys, and then we would hand them out, obviously, to the people that we know need them, the justices, myself, and you, and the town clerk, and Sue, and everybody. And then when people come in to try their lock that won't work, they can come in and then we'll see who they are, what's going on. So that won't be a big project. And again, I'll advise you as to what that's going to be. And then we have the security issue as well. We'd like to know who has access to here. I'm reviewing some of the older policies, the procurement policy, the employees handbook, those kinds of things. So I'm going through those, and we'll see if we can get those up to date. We had, our Bobcat is fixed. We had a Bobcat, had some hydraulic problems. We've taken that down. It's ready to be picked up, so that'll be brought back. So we have the Bobcat fixed and ready to go to plow fire hydrants or whatever we may need it for. Use it this summer at the park. That's a valuable piece of equipment for Dave. That's the one that the highways had donated to us. They got a new one and gave us their old one. So that's a valuable
How
thing.
much did that end up?
I'm sorry?
What was the final number on that?
I haven't got the final bill yet. It's going to be like $2,100 right in there. And the machine is worth way more than that. So it was worth doing. Plus, it's a valuable piece of equipment for David. Bill, could you just bring the board up to date on the pilot agreement for, I guess I can do it, the pilot agreement for the Pfizer building, where we're at, just a 2-minute thing?
Well, they signed one.
Yeah.
North Star 41 LLC is the entity that purchased that building from the Clinton County Industrial Development Agency last June or something. And I mean, there's a lot of history there. I don't know how much everyone on the board knows, but basically, going back probably 3 years ago, Pfizer was pretty much done with trying to market the facility, and they were threatening to level the building, take it down, so that they wouldn't have to pay a lot of taxes on it. They didn't want to sell it to a competitor, although they marketed it supposedly quite a bit. And then there was talk of them selling it to some entities who, the only people that were expressing interest were entities that would go in, basically strip it. Back then, the price of scrap metal was quite high, and copper and everything else. And there was some of that concern that they would go have a, empty it out, scrap the building basically, and end up with just a structure there. The Clinton County Industrial Development Agency had stepped up, and the state of New York offered to put in up to $2 million for the Industrial Development Agency to come in, take ownership of the facility, and try to market it for 2 years. And they did that. And they were pretty much almost through their $2 million allotment. Ran it for about 1.5 years. It was expected $2 million would cover 2 years, but the cost of maintaining that facility was just too large. And then this entity came in, North Star, acquired the facility with some commitment to create some jobs, and they still have that commitment. But part of their negotiation with the IDA was to enter into a pilot agreement, and it would remain exempt from taxes, but they would start making a payment in lieu of taxes. And that's what the agreement is that's been signed. So that's in place now, and the town will start getting some revenue. going back 2 years ago, was taken off the tax roll completely when the IDA acquired it. So now,
It's a 10-year agreement, right?
it's a 10-year agreement. The payment in lieu of taxes, which is the standard pilot, is 50% of the assessment. They pay taxes, or a payment in lieu of taxes, equal to 50% the first year, and it declines by 5% each year. So in the 9th year, it's 95% of what the taxes would be, and then the 10th year, when it's over, it's back to 100%. There are a lot of efforts in terms of their marketing of the facility, a lot of ideas. They've got a lot of interest. They've been trying to market it to their, I can't think of the name of the types of companies that they're marketing to, but that would be able to use this type of facility. The problem is no one wants it, the entire facility. I mean, it's, I want to say 300,000 square feet, but it's very, very large. And because of that, you know, they're hoping to find companies that will be able to use major portions of it. Correct. And they also have some plans so that they can, the pilot agreement, the agreements between the IDA and North Star, the facility that owns the facility now, have some agreements regarding creation of jobs and things like that. So hopefully they'll be successful.
And if they're not successful, what happens? Does it go back to the IDA?
No,
If they
they would
can't
own it,
pay-
the pilots could end up,
If they can't pay their taxes or in lieu of taxes?
if there's any default under any of those agreements, what happens is they lose the tax advantage, it goes back on the tax rolls. In other words, it no longer becomes exempt, they lose that advantage, it gets added to the tax rolls, and ultimately, if, you know, they're not able to pay, say, 40% of what, or 60 or 70% of what the taxes were, and then they can't pay 100% of the taxes, there'd be a tax foreclosure and a tax sale and all of those things, which would be the worst case scenario, I think, for
Because
the
then
town.
it could go back
Yeah.
But,
to
right,
people that want to strip it
yeah,
Right, right.
and leave it on our lap.
Well, we have a pilot agreement, that's a step forward, so.
yeah, so that the town will have realized some revenue from that facility this year.
Right. It won't be a lot.
More than last,
Oh, yeah.
more than you had the last
It'll be
3
more than
years.
zero. It'll be more than zero. So, no, that's a good thing. Any other questions on that? I just wanted to let you know what was going on. Finally, we had talked, I think at our very first meeting, of having 2 meetings over in West Chazy at, I think it's called the Grange Hall over there this year, 2 town meetings. So I'm proposing that we have the May meeting and the August meeting over in West Chazy. And we'll publish that, and we'll take care of it. If there's any objections to that,
May and August.
let me know. Yeah. May and August, we'll be in West Chazy. I need a resolution for that, I don't do it. I don't think I do.
Well, I
Well,
you
you
do
may
because you
because
said
you-
it in your.
We've already, that's right,
Yes.
okay.
We've got time, this is only, you know,
We can have a resolution ready for the next meeting?
in fact, we could do one, if that's what you
it
want,
for
to
now?
change those 2. I'll ad lib and make we'll have it
Okay.
as part of our minutes,
All
so
right.
it'll be in. I can put it in paper, I have to put it in the legal,
Right.
post it.
Okay. We can do a resolution tonight then, if I remember to bring it up. And that's all I have. Did I forget anything?
Good answers.
Mr. Barnwell, sir.
Well, we have quite a thing here. First resolution, as Mr. Henry said, is authorizing the emergency repairs and payment of expenses of the wastewater treatment plant. That was $1,792.
Can I get a motion to pay that?
I'll make a motion.
May I get a second? I will. Any discussion? All in favor?
This is money.
Oh, that's right. It's
I
not-
think
thank
we
you.
should have a roll call.
Yep. Take a roll call vote, Mr. Vesco?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Bureau? Supervisor votes yes.
Yes.
Mr. Dino votes yes. Thank you for reminding me, Phil.
No problem. we have a violence in the workplace resolution. Basically, it's just a reiteration of one that was done in May of last year, but we have been asked by the New York State Department of Labor to update that with the new board members and supervisor on that. That's basically all this is. You should all have a, hopefully I gave everybody a copy of it.
I'll make a motion.
A second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, next resolution is authorizing the transfer of general building capital type reserve funds to general equipment capital type reserve funds in the amount of $30,000.
This is the money, as we talked about before, that we transfer from one fund to the other for the pickup truck and the garage doors are there as well, right? And we had talked to the state comptroller's office and said that that movement was fine.
Now, where will the insurance money? Because I thought the insurance money from the truck.
Oh, that's,
Right.
that,
That's in general right now, general
So
fund.
that
I know.
won't go towards part of this, or to pay back part of it, or?
No.
But Jerry, I
no,
think is questioning, this says 30,000
This
you're
is-
moving.
Right,
But I thought the total truck was gonna be 30,000.
okay, what we looked at is the truck, we got $16,000, et cetera, dollars. We have that in general fund. We figure that's gonna be another 16,000 in order to complete the truck.
Right.
Another 2,600 on top of that for the garage door. What we did is we put a buffer in there, because our general equipment fund is down to 8,000. And so we moved over 30,000, not just for the
So
truck.
you have like an extra 10,000 you're
Right.
moving?
Because we only have
to put
8,000
into-
in the equipment fund
Okay,
right now, and that's what we are doing.
okay. And then the insurance money will stay in the general?
And, until it's expensed out for the truck.
Okay. All right.
Normally, when you move money out of a reserve fund, though, it's subject to permissive referendum. But is that okay because you're moving it from the general reserve fund to the capital
Yep.
reserve
I
fund?
called New York State Comptroller's office, they gave me their legal office, and they said it's fine. Now, when you go to take money out
Right.
of equipment, then you have to have your permissive referendum.
you with that?
Yep.
Okay, that will be a roll call vote, is that correct?
So is the insurance money being used to pay for the truck, or is it staying in the general fund?
No, it's in the general fund, but it's been tagged for the pickup truck.
So that will be coming out as well once the truck arrives.
That is correct.
Have to write a check for it, yes.
But what's happening is the equipment reserve fund is being bumped up that extra 10,000, because it's down to 8,000. Is essentially what you're moving extra, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But tonight, you don't have a resolution to move that money out of the equipment reserve fund.
No, because we have no idea what our actual cost is going to be at. What we're doing is just moving money from one general reserve account, which is called building, to a general building equipment reserve account, just to bank it, just to have it there so it's available when you do purchase this truck. Now you're gonna have to go through what they call permissive referendum, which takes another 30 days because it goes out to the public. So we're just trying to get our steps, done accordingly, so that when the truck becomes available, we don't have to be behind the 8 ball to get our funding set up.
So that 8,000 that's in the equipment fund, that's a little bit lower than what's typically there or typically been there in the past?
Our
why we're
equipment
bumping
fund generally has been anywhere between 40 and 60. And over a period of time, it's been dwindled because we've had expenses. And typically our sales tax revenue, which it's not Sam's fault, but
I think it is.
we didn't receive any revenue for 3 years, any sales tax revenue. So everything that we were taking out, we couldn't replenish. And that's what I'm hoping to do now, is we're starting to get some sales tax money back. so that we can replenish, but I don't see that happening probably this year. I think we need to build our fund balance. You know, we need to, we have approximately $169,000 in the capital building fund. My own personal opinion is that I wouldn't want that to be any lower than 100,000. So by taking this 30,000 out, you're still having 139,000 to be exact, somewhere in there. But then you have nothing to work with in your general building fund, general equipment fund, if you have any needs coming up. So I was just trying to make a money management type situation and not be behind the 8 ball.
Plus you're gonna need another $5,000-7,000 for the plow when you get the truck.
Well, we had figured that in. you know.
Okay.
32
Yeah.
years.
I'll make a motion.
First time discussion?
First time that's ever
Roll
happened.
call. Mr. Vest.
Yes.
Mr. Hero. Supervisor Welch, yes?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Our next resolution is authorizing Patricia Ayer to attend a course titled Fundamentals of Mass Appraisal in Raybrook. And as Supervisor Henry said, the only cost is the transportation. And it's going to be from April 7th.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? That will require an roll call vote? No, it doesn't. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next one is the complete heating service agreement for Chazy Town Hall with Holden Heating and Air Conditioning. And that's a one-year contract commencing, if you approve it tonight, for 1 year and the amount of $485.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
We have a resolution also authorizing the purchase and installation of a new garage door for the town hall garage using general equipment capital reserve funds subject to permissive referendum, which would require me to post this in the newspaper as well. It's for $2,600.
Do I have a motion?
So did you actually put these out to bid? Or how did you go about getting the prices?
We
Or
got,
did you
not
call
bid,
for-
no. We asked for 3 quotes
Mhm.
because of the amount doesn't
It's not-
require
Okay.
a bid. So we got 3 quotes. The
Mhm.
lowest quote was $1,000 less than the next one.
Mhm.
It's a firm out of Vermont whose name escapes me right now. And that includes installation. Of course, as you know, is probably better than I, it'll be a permissive referendum, so we'll wait. So do I have a motion?
Yes.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? A roll call vote, Mr. Vesco?
Yes.
Mr. Drew? Supervisor Welch, yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Champlain Door Company?
No, that's not it. I'll find out though, I'll let you know.
The next resolution is regarding local law number 1 for the year 2014, authorizing the award of purchase of contracts on the basis of best value. And it will require me to post this in the Press Republican, and we will have a public hearing on April 14th. Discussion.
Do I have a second?
Who's making?
Or do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And we're going to have a resolution in here whereby the town meetings for the month of May and August 2014 will be held at the West Chazy, is it the town hall that we're calling that?
Yeah.
And I need authorization also to post that in the Press Republican because it is a change of our posted meeting dates.
I'd like to make a motion that we change the location of the town meetings for May and August to the West Chazy Grange Hall, and that the town clerk be authorized to post that in the press room.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor? Opposed?
And last but not least, we have our payment of claims in the total amount of $85,265.68.
I'll make a motion.
Second, all in favor? Opposed? Oh, we need a roll call vote. I'm gonna get this right yet. Mr. Vessel?
Yes.
Mr. Giroux? Yes. Supervisor votes yes.
Yes.
Are you going to do a resolution authorizing the procure, or requesting bids for the truck?
He didn't do it, so I wasn't sure.
Okay. You're going out to bid on that
Yes.
truck, I think was the consensus, but we
Yes.
should have a resolution on that.
Yes.
And the other resolution you might want to do is spending, now you've moved the money into your equipment reserve fund. And you might want to do a resolution authorizing the expenditure from that reserve fund up to, whether it's $15,000 or $20,000 for the purchase of that truck, because it's subject to permissive referendum. So if you don't do that now, I mean,
You're gonna have to wait.
yeah, I wouldn't go out to bid for the truck until you're sure nobody objects to you, brings it to a vote. Because when you do this, going out to bid for the truck and everything, theoretically, you could go through this whole process again. And then you go and say, okay, now we're going to approve expending $16,000 from the capital, or the equipment reserve fund to complete the purchase of this truck. And you've got to wait for 30 days, and someone could be filing a petition to bring it to vote, the vote could fail. I mean, you wouldn't be doing this whole bid process again for nothing.
Right, right. No, that makes sense. No, I see exactly what you're saying. We don't pay him enough.
But anyway, just being here at the meeting is worth it.
All in favor?
Okay, I thought you ran out of battery. Anyway.
Okay, so we need a resolution to put out bid. I gotta get rid, to bid. How for a 3/4 ton? How much information do we need as far as the truck itself for the
Well,
resolution?
can't you say according to specs previously
Okay.
discussed
But
or something?
if you're going to go out with alternatives, that should be incorporated in it as well. shouldn't it?
Right. Yeah, with for the plow separate.
If you're gonna do just the truck, or the truck and the plow, or
Truck.
if you're just planning on the truck, well, that's another story.
Right. Well,
Who's in charge of putting the specs together? Maybe the town board could just authorize so-and-so to
well, it
advertise.
would basically be Dave, Luke, and I, and Tim may have some input as well, there'd be the three of us.
Because
Oh,
you're
yeah,
not-
we could authorize them to, we could make a resolution authorizing you guys to come up with the specs and advertise.
Seek
and
bid
go out for bid,
proposals for the
right.
purchase of a 3/4 ton and
Yeah,
alternatively 3/4 ton and plow.
yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And then it'd give you guys time and permission to
You're just
Okay.
seeking
work
bids.
out the specifics.
Authorizing the supervisor. What's Dave's title? Chief maintenance. Dave Wood. Highway superintendent. Okay. Okay, so we need a resolution authorizing the supervisor, Dave Wood maintenance worker, the highway superintendent to go out to bid. No,
Create
to
specs.
create the specifications.
For the 2015
For
three-quarter
the
ton.
2015 3/4 ton pickup.
With plow, with optional plow.
Does that allow us the wiggle room to do it, to plow?
Yeah.
Oh, we're just
Yeah.
developing the specs, or what? Okay. Optional plow, and to, will also authorize us to seek bids.
Right.
Okay. So, what I have is a resolution to authorize the supervisor, Venus Worker Dave Loop, and the highway superintendent to create the specifications for a 2015 three-quarter ton pickup with optional plow and to seek bids.
And to authorize the town clerk to go to the press public and with it, right?
Okay. Authorize town clerk to advertise. So we have resolution authorizing the supervisor of maintenance worker Dave Loop, highway superintendent to create the specifications for a 2015 three-quarter ton pickup with optional plow and to seek bids, and authorize the town clerk to advertise in the press report. Does that work for everybody? Okay, so that's the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. May I have a second?
A second.
Okay, second. All in favor? Opposed? I got that one right? Good for me. Okay, now number two, we had to do what, Bill, you suggested?
Well, I was just suggesting that you authorize spending up to 20,000 or 15,000 out of whatever you're expecting, up to. It's a maximum, it doesn't have to be what you're actually gonna, you're not setting that as a floor, but it's just a maximum from the capital reserve fund, or the equipment reserve fund, excuse me, subject to permissive referendum.
Now, does that have to be two separate, if we're gonna take money out of there for the garage storage room?
Yeah, that's a different
That was
resolution.
done.
That was our, oh, we
Yeah.
already did that,
Yeah.
okay.
And then it should be separate, because
Right,
if someone
yeah.
wanted to object to that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Up to, what's the amount, what do they go up to?
Well, you could do it with bills at up to 20,000.
20?
And then
You're not committing, the board isn't committing, it's up to spending 20,000, but they're gonna look at the bids and decide, you have the insurance of 16 and
The 2015 three-quarter.
public would be understanding though that you could be spending up to 20,000, so
Yeah.
it could be.
Instead of going back for a second resolution.
Correct.
So the second resolution would state, a resolution authorizing the expenditure up to $20,000 from the equipment reserve fund to purchase a 2015 three-quarter ton pickup with optional plow. Does that work? I'm sorry?
Put general.
Oh, it's general?
General.
General equipment reserve
General.
fund? Are you ready for that, or you want to do it again?
I got it.
You got it.
Two sways of the pen and he's got it.
I know.
You've been waiting for a half hour, I know. God, Phil's been sitting over there watching him.
So, we have a resolution to authorize the expenditure of up to $20,000 from the general equipment reserve fund to purchase a 2015 three-quarter ton pickup with optional plow. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, here we go now, it's a big test. All in favor?
Nope.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
Mr. Vesco?
Yes.
Mr. Drew? Supervisor votes yes.
Yes.
Mr. Dino votes yes. I think that's it. Hot dog. On bills, the next meeting will be April 14th, 2014, here. What else we got, Phil?
That's it, sir.
Anybody else got anything? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Uh,
I don't need a second for motion. That I do know. But I'll take one if you want to give it. All in favor?
This what?
Opposed?
Yeah.